supplicating the Lord to bless her with a goodly male child and make his birth easy to her. And Allah heard her petition; so after her months were accomplished she sat safely upon the birth stool. Now the King had deputed a eunuch to let him know if the child she should bring forth were male or female; and in like way his son Sharrkan had sent one to bring him tidings of the same. In due time Sophia was delivered of a child, which the midwives examined and found to be a girl, with a face sheenier than the moon. So they announced this to all present in the room, whereupon the King's messenger carried the news to him, and Sharrkan's eunuch did the like with his master, who rejoiced with exceeding joy. But after the two had departed, quoth Sophia to the midwives, "Wait with me awhile, for I feel as if there were still somewhat in my womb." Then she cried out, and the pains of childbed again took her, and Allah made it easy to her and she gave birth to a second child. The wise women looked at it and found it a boy, like the full moon, with forehead flower white and cheek ruddy bright with rosy light; whereupon the mother rejoiced, as did the eunuchs and attendants and all the company, and Sophia was delivered of the afterbirth, whilst all in the palace sent forth a thrill of joy. The rest of the concubines heard it and envied her lot. And the tidings reached Omar, son of Al Nu'uman, who was glad and rejoiced at the excellent news. Then he rose and went to her and kissed her head, after which he looked at the boy and bending over him kissed him, whilst the damsels struck the tabours and played on instruments of music. And the King gave order that the boy should be named Zau al Makan and his sister Nuzhat al Zaman. They answered, "Hearing and obedience," and did his bidding. So he appointed wet nurses and dry nurses and eunuchs and attendants to serve them, and assigned them rations of sugar and diet drinks and unguents and else beside, beyond the power of tongue to rehearse. Moreover, the people of Baghdad, hearing that Allah had blessed their King with issue, decorated the city and made proclamation of the glad tidings with drum and tom tom; and the Emirs and Wazirs and high dignitaries came to the palace and wished King Omar bin al Nu'uman joy of his son, Zau al Makan, and of his daughter Nuzhat al Zaman; wherefore he thanked them and bestowed on them dresses of honour and further favoured them with gifts, and dealt largesse to all, gentle and simple, who were present. After this fashion he did for 4 days full told, and he lavished upon Sophia raiment and ornaments and great store of wealth; and every few days he would send a messenger to ask after her and the new borns. And when 4 years had gone by, he provided her with the wherewithal to rear the two children carefully and educate them with the best of instructions. All this while his son Sharrkan knew not that a male child had been born to his father Omar, son of Al Nu'uman, having news only that he had been blessed with the birth of Nuzhat al Zaman. And they hid the intelligence from him, until days and years had sped by, whilst he was busied in battling with the brave and fighting single handed against the Knights. One day, as King Omar was sitting in his palace, his chamberlains came in to him and, kissing the ground before him, said, "O King, there be come ambassadors from the King of Roum, Lord of Constantinople the Great, and they desire admission to thee and submission to thy decree. If the King command us to introduce them we will so do, and if not, there is no disputing his behest." He bade them enter, and when they came in, he turned to them and courteously receiving them, asked them of their case, and what was the cause of their coming. They kissed the ground before him and said, "O King, glorious and strong! O Lord of the arm that is long, know that he who has dispatched us to thee is King Afridun, Lord of Iona Island, and the Nazarene armies, the sovereign who is firmly established in the empery of Constantinople, to acquaint thee that he is now waging fierce war, and fell with a tyrant and a rebel, the Prince of Caesarea. And the cause of this war is as follows. One of the kings of the Arabs in past time, during certain of his conquests, chanced upon a hoard of the time of Alexander, whence he removed wealth past compute, and, amongst other things, three round jewels, big as ostrich eggs, from a mine of pure white gems, whose like was never seen by man. Upon each was graven characts of Ionian characters, and they have many virtues and properties; amongst the rest, that if one of these jewels be hung round the neck of a new born child, no evil shall befall him, and he shall neither wail, nor shall fever ail him as long as the jewel remain without fail. When the Arab king laid hands upon them, and learned their secrets, he sent to King Afridun presents of certain rarities, and amongst them the three jewels afore mentioned. And he equipped for the mission two ships, one bearing the treasure, and the other men of might to guard it from any who might offer hindrance on the high seas, albeit well assured that none would dare waylay his vessels, for that he was King of the Arabs, and more by token that their course lay over waters subject to the King of Constantinople, and they were bound to his port. Nor were there on the shore of that sea any save the subjects of the great King Afridun. The two ships set out, and voyaged till they drew near our city, when there sailed out on them certain corsairs from that country, and amongst them troops from the Prince of Caesarea, who took all the treasures and rarities in the ships, together with the three jewels, and slew the crews. When our king heard of this, he sent an army against them, but they routed it. Then he marched a second and a stronger, but they put this also to flight. Whereupon the king waxed wroth and swore that he would not go forth against them save in his own person at the head of his whole army, nor would he turn back from them till he had left Caesarea of Armenia in ruins, and had laid waste all the lands and cities over which her prince held sway. So he sent us to the Lord of the age and the time, Sultan Omar bin al Nu'uman, King of Baghdad and of Khorasan, desiring that he aid us with an army, so may honour and glory accrue to him; and he hath also forwarded by us somewhat of various kinds of presents, and of the King's grace he beggeth their acceptance, and the friendly boon of furtherance. Then the ambassadors kissed the ground before him.—And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. End of Project Gutenberg's The Book of 1000 Nights and a Night, Volume 2. Read by Lars Rolander.